Good morning and welcome to Coffee Club. My name is Abby Smith and I am running for mayor of the city of Kokomo. And this is our weekly video series where I answer one personal question and one policy question, and we have coffee or any beverage of your choosing. Today I have my chip mug, so let's get to it. Today the personal question is about my faith, so I'm happy to answer. I am a Protestant Christian and I'm getting ready to go to Easter services here in a few minutes. I'm excited that today is sunshiny and my kids will have fun with cousins hunting eggs and all of that. So happy Easter to everyone celebrating Easter today. We actually are also in the season of Passover, so happy Passover to all of my Jewish friends out there. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and also, that kind of brings me to my philosophy on practicing my own religion and respecting others, and what's great about living in this country. So not everyone believes in God, and not everyone believes in the same God, and of those that believe in the same God, not everyone practices their faith in the same way, and of those who practice their faith in the same way, not everyone goes to the same church. And so that's what makes this country great, and what makes our community great is that we're not all the same, and we can believe what we believe and be respected for that, and we respect others for that. So as I transition into the policy question, I'm going to come back to that in just a minute, because I think that respect of others has a lot to do with public safety. So public safety is the policy question today. It's been a very hot topic in this primary season, and so I wanted to give it a little more time than I have been able to do previously. In my opinion, we are consistently missing the heart of the matter when we are talking about public safety in general. So it's a much broader topic and more complicated than a staffing number. If we're not going to talk about technical training, tactical training, leadership training, technology, and mental health care and equipment for our officers, then a number is just a number. So there are a couple of ways to come up with that number. If we're just looking at a number, I would argue that those are not very good ways, and I do offer an alternative. So we could go with per capita, which means how many police officers we have per person in our community. We could go with crime rates. So if crime rates are higher, we have more. Crime rates are lower, we have fewer. That doesn't seem like the best way to do that. And then the other is the budget. So how much money do we have and how many can we pay for? So using even all three of those together, in my opinion, does not dig deep enough into how many officers we need. So I'll tell you what does. So there's a methodology that's called the Rule of 60. So what that says is that we need to have at least 60% of our officers on patrol or assigned to patrol. So that means they're actively responding to calls for service, or they are out proactively engaging with the community and meeting people. So the other Rule of 60 says that if those patrol officers are spending at or above 60% of their time on average in response to calls for service, then they have hit what's called a saturation point. So what that means is if they are constantly in a mode of response, or even at 60% in a mode of response, then that flips their mindsets completely to response mode. That's not a healthy way for officers to live, and it's also not an effective way for them to police our community. So the alternative is making sure that we keep our officers, our patrol officers, at or below 60%. So we want to be in the 50 to 60% range. And so those are, it's an average and it's a rolling average. And so what it allows you to do is see what's really going on in your community at any given point in time and adjust accordingly in real time. So if we need more officers because they are spending 60% or more of their time in response to calls for service, then we would know that in any given year, and we could make adjustments. And so that's the methodology that I would use, I guess you could say. I know it's very complicated, and what you're really looking for is how do you make these decisions, and are you willing to make them? So that's how, and yes, I'm willing, because I will say with 80 sworn officers, 40% set to retire in the next couple of years, a competitive market, a wait list at the academy, and an extended onboarding time for this industry, 80 is not enough sworn officers for us to have at this time. So What would I do? I think that this industry has changed significantly in the last 15 years. And here are my top priorities going forward in managing a police department and public safety in general. So, number one, I would invest in leadership training. We absolutely need our police officers to be leaders in the community, and sometimes there are skills that need to be taught in that. So we need to recognize the officers who have leadership potential, and we need to invest in them. So that really leads into the second point, talent attraction and retention. So if we have great officers, then we need to retain them, and we need to put together a competitive package to do that. And then we also need to attract talent from other places as well. So we want people, good people, to be coming into Kokomo and taking these jobs. So part of that, being able to do that, is an equitable hiring process. So we need to make sure that process is transparent and that we are hiring officers who are qualified for the positions that they're applying for. So we want to make sure that that process is fair and equitable. And then the fourth is to foster an authentic connection to the community. So that kind of brings me back around to my personal question today. I don't know if you saw the news, but there was a bombing in Sri Lanka where lots of people died and lots of people were injured, and they were celebrating their faith and their holy day. And so that brings me back to what I think our responsibility is as citizens in public safety. So we can do all of these things that I just mentioned with our police department, but if we are not taking our role in public safety seriously as citizens, then they're never going to be able to catch up. So if we have a police force that is out there protecting us, my question is, what are they protecting us from? And the answer is they're protecting us from each other. And so if we can take on part of that burden and be responsible and accountable for our own actions in terms of keeping our neighbors safe or respecting our neighbors and allowing Kokomo to be a peaceful and safe place to live, then we can deliver on public safety on a much bigger level if we all work together. So my heart goes out to those families. I'm grateful to be able to practice my faith today in a safe way. And at the end of the day, you are always going to hear me come back to holding ourselves accountable for our role as citizens and working in partnership with community leaders, and in this case, our police officers who sacrifice a lot to keep us safe. So thank you very much. I appreciate everything. We are coming down to the last 2 weeks before the primary, so I hope you go out there and vote. Early voting is now open. If you have any questions, please contact my campaign and we can help you. But otherwise, have a great week, and if you're celebrating Easter today, happy Easter. Bye-bye.